All right, the last kind of thesis that we're going to be talking about is the research paper thesis. And this is where you have to really consider what is available to you and whether or not you can get all of this done. So, for example, you are being given a limited amount of time for this assignment. You can't address everything. So you need to be really critical and thoughtful about what you address, because you cannot address everything. You literally can't. So limit yourself. Okay? If you need to do your own research, like actually go out and do a statistical analysis of something, not effective. You can't do any type of experimental evidence to support yourself, okay? You can use your own background, your own experience, but you can't go out and interview 15 students to figure out like what is the best thing to do for, or why your peers would agree with nap time during the day. I mean, you just can't do that. So it's very similar to the overly broad thesis. So technology has destroyed the human race. That's huge, and not very helpful. You don't have time. Well, that's a totally legitimate thing that you could say. That's again a book, right? In fact, The Shallows is one of those books. So, like one of those options that you could have read for the class. So, okay, how do you fix that? The growing presence of technology has not only robbed white-collar workers of entry-level jobs, but it has also stymied the younger generation from building the national emotional skills to withstand mental stress in academia or employment. Yay! So, rather than saying like they've destroyed the human race, it specifically says, here's what it's done. It's hurt workers, it's hurt people's ability to withstand stress in academia or employment. So I'm being specific and narrow in what I want to talk about. Now I could talk about a bunch of other things, about the relationships that were destroyed. I could talk about the ability to have any time off, because now email means that we are teachers and frankly any workers are available 24/7, so you're really never not at work. So I could be talking about any of that, but instead I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to research all of that, so I'm going to narrow it down to these three things. Okay. So take a look at bad thesis number 2. Teenagers from all walks of life rely too heavily on technology. Again, way too big of an idea. Instead, take a look at this. Teenagers will spend much of their time on electronic devices such as tablets and phones, and many adults believe this to be a waste of time. Okay, I could actually see that being two different topics. So like the spending too much time and what the adults believe. Continuing. Despite the lures of social media on these devices, the younger generation avoids these traps, and they actually use their time effectively to build social and emotional skills to help maneuver through the difficulties of adulthood. So, actually, like this could potentially be a whole nother section. So, I at least have 2 sections. I could see this being broken down into perhaps one more. But ultimately, I'm not saying teenagers from all walks of life. I'm arguing what is the issue? Well, they waste time. And then this argument is actually arguing the opposite of what was said up here. But ultimately, what all these videos are trying to reinforce is that you need to have sections of your thesis statement that make a legitimate claim that's supported by some type of evidence. Okay? And not crazy town evidence. I'm talking about like legitimate evidence that people would find credible. So what you want to do is you want to start developing 2 or 3 different thesis statements, because that's what you're going to be working on tomorrow in class. You're going to have to submit a couple different thesis statements that you would like to explore.